The legal system of ancient Egypt, spanning over 3 millennia from the early dynastic period c. 3100 BCE to the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty 30 BCE, reflected a complex interplay of religion, monarchy, and social hierarchy. Unlike modern legal systems that rely on codified statutes or legislatures, Egyptian law was deeply intertwined with the authority of the pharaoh, religious doctrine, and societal norms. This unique combination produced a legal tradition that emphasized cosmic order, moral accountability, and hierarchical governance. The role of the pharaoh. At the heart of Egyptian law was the pharaoh, who was considered both a divine ruler and the ultimate arbiter of justice. The pharaoh's authority was believed to be sanctioned by the gods, particularly Ma'at, the goddess and concept representing truth, balance, and cosmic order. Law, justice, and morality were inseparable in this worldview. Pharaohs were expected to maintain Ma'at by enacting laws, resolving disputes, and punishing wrongdoing. Their decrees, though sometimes informal, carried the force of law and were disseminated through officials and scribes throughout the kingdom. The pharaoh's role was not merely symbolic. In many cases, they personally intervened in major legal disputes, particularly those involving high officials or interregional conflicts. Evidence of such interventions is found in inscriptions, such as the Stela of Amenemhat II, which records the king's decisions in disputes over property and inheritance. Even when legal matters were delegated, the pharaoh's authority legitimized judicial decisions, reinforcing the perception that law and divine will were inherently linked. Legal sources and administration. Unlike Mesopotamia, where codified law codes like Hammurabi's Code were publicly displayed, Egyptian law was largely unwritten, existing in oral traditions, administrative records, and later in papyri. Judges and scribes relied on precedents, customs, and the moral authority of Ma'at when resolving cases. Legal papyri, such as the Berlin Papyrus 10508 and the Papyrus Pris, provide insight into civil disputes, property transactions, and criminal cases, though these are fragmentary. The administration of justice relied heavily on a bureaucracy composed of viziers, local governors, nomarchs, and village elders. The vizier, often the second most powerful figure after the pharaoh, oversaw courts, tax collection, and enforcement of laws. Local courts dealt with everyday disputes over land, labor, and contracts, while higher courts, presided over by royal officials, handled serious criminal offenses, interregional conflicts, or matters concerning state resources. Judges were expected to demonstrate impartiality and moral rectitude, reflecting Ma'at in their decisions. Witness testimony, written documents, and occasionally oaths played crucial roles in legal proceedings. Interestingly, trials could involve elaborate procedures, such as public hearings, where evidence was presented, and judgments were often accompanied by ceremonial reaffirmations of Ma'at. Civil law, property, contracts, and family. Civil law in ancient Egypt revolved around property, economic transactions, and family relations. Land ownership was highly significant, as land constituted both wealth and social status. Most land belonged to the pharaoh, temples, or noble families, with peasants and laborers working as tenants or sharecroppers. Legal disputes frequently concerned land boundaries, tenancy agreements, and inheritance rights. Written contracts, often recorded on papyri, regulated these matters and ensured accountability. Family law was similarly structured around societal norms and inheritance rules. Marriage contracts outlined the rights and obligations of husbands and wives, including property management, dowries, and child custody. Widows and children had certain protections, and disputes over inheritance were common. Legal documents show that women could own property, enter contracts, and represent themselves in court, demonstrating a degree of agency unusual in the ancient world. Criminal law and punishments. Criminal law in ancient Egypt addressed offenses ranging from theft and assault to rebellion and sacrilege. Serious crimes, particularly those threatening Ma'at or state authority, were met with harsh punishments. Evidence suggests a tiered system. Minor offenses might result in fines or labor, while serious crimes could lead to corporal punishment, imprisonment, or execution. The concept of justice was closely linked to moral and cosmic order. Confessions and oaths were central to trials, often invoking gods to guarantee truthfulness. Religious authority reinforced legal norms. Offenses against temples, sacred objects, or priests were considered both criminal and sacrilegious, demanding severe penalties. Tomb inscriptions and literary texts, such as the Tale of the Eloquent Peasant, illustrate how appeals to justice and fairness were fundamental to societal ideals. Influence of religion in Ma'at. Religion was inseparable from law in ancient Egypt. Ma'at represented not only moral rectitude, but also social stability and the legitimacy of the legal order. Judges and officials were expected to embody Ma'at, ensuring that justice was impartial, harmonious, and aligned with divine will. Temples often served as centers of legal activity, providing documentation, arbitration, and moral authority. The intertwining of law and religion also extended to ritual practices. Certain offenses required ritual purification or symbolic acts to restore cosmic balance. The afterlife was viewed as a continuation of moral accountability. The concept of judgment before Osiris emphasized that individuals would face divine scrutiny beyond their earthly lives, reinforcing adherence to the law. Legal instruments and documentation. While Egyptian law was largely unwritten, certain instruments and records played pivotal roles in legal administration. Papyrus scrolls, stelae, and inscriptions served as permanent records of contracts, decrees, and judicial decisions. Examples include land sale contracts, debt agreements, and legal petitions addressed to officials or the pharaoh. The Edict of Horemheb from the late 18th dynasty illustrates efforts to standardize legal procedures and punish corrupt officials, highlighting the evolving sophistication of the legal system. Such decrees underscored the need for accountability and the centralization of authority, particularly in periods following political instability. Legal philosophy and social order. The philosophy underlying Egyptian law emphasized stability, hierarchy, and moral order. Social hierarchy determined legal responsibility. Nobles and officials were held to high standards, while peasants' disputes were often settled locally. Punishments and rewards were designed not only to deter crime, but to maintain social cohesion and reinforce the moral order of Ma'at. Moreover, the legal system reflects an early understanding of ethics in governance. Literature such as the Instruction of Tahotep and the Maxims of Ani illustrates the expectation that rulers, officials, and citizens alike act in ways that promote justice, honesty, and societal well-being. This moral framework, integrated into law, administration, and daily life, exemplifies the holistic nature of Egyptian legal traditions. Conclusion. Egyptian legal traditions under the pharaohs were unique in their fusion of divine authority, moral philosophy, and social hierarchy. Law was less a codified set of rules and more a living embodiment of Ma'at, administered by pharaohs, viziers, judges, and scribes. Civil disputes, criminal cases, property rights, and family law were all interpreted through the lens of cosmic and social order. Religious principles reinforced legal norms, while documentation and bureaucracy ensured continuity and accountability. Though often less formalized than Mesopotamian or later Roman legal systems, Egyptian law demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of justice, morality, and governance. Its emphasis on balance, truth, and the central authority of the pharaoh ensured societal stability over millennia and left an enduring legacy in the study of ancient legal systems. Sources 1. Breyer B., 2014. The Murder of Tutankhamun, A True Story. Penguin. 2. Godek H. 2000. Administrative and Legal Texts from Ancient Egypt. Baltimore Johns Hopkins University Press. 3. Hornung E. 1999. The Ancient Egyptian Books of the Afterlife. Cornell University Press. 4. Lichtime M. 1973. Ancient Egyptian Literature Volume 1. The Old and Middle Kingdoms. University of California Press. 5. Tobin V. 1993. Egyptian Law from the Old Kingdom to the New Kingdom. Journal of Near Eastern Studies 52, 1-17. 6. Vandemeeroop M. 2007. A History of Ancient Egypt. Wiley Blackwell. Watterson B. 2003. Egyptian Law in the New Kingdom. Kegan Paul International.